What is up, everybody? Patio Slade Podcast here, episode 39. Is that right, guys? 39 already?
39, yeah.
Yeah, right? Fuck, man. Episode 39. We are, just grinding along one a week. We did move this week to Monday, so if you're listening to us now, it's Monday or Tuesday of the week that we're going to start releasing those early in the week as opposed to late in the week. It's just easier for all of us, especially with the holidays coming up. So look for us on Mondays going forward. We are very active on the social media, so check us at Patio Slave on Twitter and on Instagram. Email us at patioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, we're there. We're always out. We're always talking to people. We love engaging with fans. We love engaging with music nerds just like us. So check that stuff out. But tonight, pretty special one. We had a guest on tonight. Anthony, you want to lead off and let us know who we had?
Yeah, man. So we had Matty Arsenault. So Matty was the singer of the Boston-based band A Loss for Words. So pop-punk-esque band that started back in 2000 and called it a day in 2015. He's currently the founder and owner and CEO of Reclaim Music Group. So he manages artists and works on artist development. He's also the part owner of Idle Hand Collective, which is a traveling pop-up barbershop cutting artists and athletes' hair at sporting events and live music and stuff like that. And if that wasn't enough, he's you'll hear it on the podcast, he's going to start his own podcast. He's got that in the works. So that cat is out of the bag. So this was a special one for me. So if you've listened to us, you know that we've been going to see live music for 20 years now. A Loss for Words is the band that I've seen the most out of any band, dating back to 2003. I've seen them about 20 times. So this was super cool, guys. I had a fucking blast. What do you guys think?
I agree. I think the fact that we are all from the greater New England area, so we have a lot to, relate about. We're all nerds. Obviously, he's the talent. We're the fans. So there's always that cool, bi-directional, you're the fan, you're the band. Let's get some, real nerd insight on that aspect. But the upbringing is always the coolest thing, or if we're both from the, general area geographically, because we can kind of relate on a lot of things. So with that said, we're going to get into it with Matty.
All right, we are here with Matty Arsenault. Matty, how the heck you doing, man? You doing good?
Dude, I'm doing great. Great with all things considered. Right now, I'm currently driving from where I was living for the past year in California, LA area, back to my home base, Boston, Massachusetts.
Hell yeah, man. So, Matty, in kind of thinking about how to start this episode, I was trying to think back to the first time that we would have crossed paths. And I went back to either 2003 or 2004. It was a show in Taunton, Mass. Do you remember the venue?
Oh, All About Records.
Fuck yeah, All About Records. It was you guys, Lost for Words, No Trigger, Junction 18, and I think the original lineup of Trios, maybe.
Oh my God, man! I maybe was it the original member? I don't. The Trios thing is a question mark, but definitely remember that lineup, and holy shit, because Junction 18 is the reason why my band existed in the first place. I mean, yeah, wow, you're taking me fucking back, bro.
That's way back. Yeah, so we kind of kept in touch a little bit over the years, just through maybe mutual friends, the scene and whatnot. So I thought it was cool thinking back, whatever it is, 16, 17 years later, we're still chatting with each other, which is pretty cool. So we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you and your sister have been, incredible friends to me over the years. And actually, it's funny. Well, moving out, my roommate's Javon Clay.
Yeah.
And we were cleaning out some of my stuff, and I found some of my old records, and the split with your sister on the front cover was on there, which was really funny to find one of those. I think it's one of the last ones I personally have.
Oh, hell yeah.
So yeah, we definitely go back, man. So it's a pleasure to be on your podcast, and thank you so much for inviting me, man. I appreciate it.
And to even bring it full circle, just to connect the dots a little more, Joe lived with myself and Chris Anthony from Nemus back in the day for a couple months.
That is absolutely absurd to me.
Isn't that crazy? And he's doing his thing. So so with that, we definitely want to get into some of your early days. So go for it, Nate.
Yeah, you're from New England. We're from Maine, so obviously kind of similar roots and like music background and so forth. We were just kind of wondering, what was your come up? How did you get into music? Was there music going on in your house that you kind of gravitated towards, and how did that influence you growing up?
Yeah, so so basically, growing up, I obviously, well, not obviously, I was a single child at first. I had a stepsister who lived in Baltimore, but I was the only one, so I didn't really have anybody to really influence me as far as showing me music and things like that. But I gravitated towards hip hop and R&B. GM 94.5 was my radio station, and basically when I was in third grade, my mom actually worked with a woman whose son was in a group called Shy, which is you know the song "If I Ever Fall in Love." And if I ever fall in love, it was a ballad back in the day. But so he was probably like in his early 20s, whatever. Showed me like H-Town. I'm wearing my Jodeci shirt right now, but Jodeci. Nice. just like all those old R&B groups, man. I could go on for days, but like that's kind of how I started realizing I like to sing. Boys to Men, obviously, Belle Biv DeVoe, New Edition. All that stuff. So I really gravitated towards R&B.
Hell yeah.
So as my childhood, that was what I did. I didn't really know too much about rock. So I started going to school dances and then kind of heard like Dookie, by Green Day, and kind of was like, yo, I fuck with these rocker dudes, whatever, the typical like little fourth grade, like, I'm a little hip hop homie and all that shit. But yeah, then I started getting into, slowly started hearing about things, and, junior high was still super big hip hop head. In the boom bap shit, like Nas and AZ, Wu-Tang, all that stuff. And then in high school, I started finding, more punk rock and stuff. And that's kind of, that's my youth of how I, got into it. Around ninth grade is when I started finding hardcore and punk.
So a couple things come to mind just real quick. I think that's the first time anybody's ever sang on our podcast that wasn't one of us. Which is
It's probably going to sound like shit coming through my phone.
No, it actually sounded pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. Let's fucking give it a little mix, tweak it. No auto-tune, fuck that shit. And then let's put it out. We got a new record.
Perfect. And secondly, I was going to say, we had a question kind of wondering, how did you end up realizing that you like to sing and wanted to maybe be, a vocalist?
Yeah, so honestly, like, when I was younger, I loved to perform, like, around my grandparents and shit. I would, like, dance around and, like, put on, like, little shows and dance around to, like, Drew Hill and, like, and Boys to Men and, like, do the Running Man and fucking, yes. Do the jumpy cross leg thing and spinning around and, all that shit, sliding on my knees. And I liked singing, and I just always liked to sing. I don't remember if I was good or not, but my family got a kick out of a little 7-8-year-old running around, doing his thing. But yeah, man, obviously once, the dude from Shy, Garfield was his name, put me on to R&B. I just really started just like singing, man. I just like singing. And I joined chorus class and shit. And I was like, just like, I really just enjoyed R&B soul. It just like, it made me feel some certain kind of way. And I just loved it. So like, I just always practiced, to R&B, man. I really just, that was my thing. And that's really what kind of, I think, gave me the confidence. And I think that's kind of why, in my opinion, why my voice sometimes is a little bit different or a little bit stands out a little bit more than other pop punk bands, because I kind of have an influence, I think, that's probably different than most artists in my genre.
Yeah, there's a little soul in there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you don't get that. So I'm trying to think back. So time frame, you're into the hip hop, the R&B stuff. So then you said early high school, you get into punk and hardcore. So I'm dating this. I'm estimating that's like 97, 98 time frame. How does that interest in the music manifest itself to the early days of the band? So you guys originally Last Ride. So how does it even happen? Like, do other people know you can sing?
You fucking know, man. Bringing up Last Ride, I don't think anybody's ever brought up Last Ride other than people
of course. What do you think this is, man?
That's what we call nerdery right there.
Yeah, homework. We did our homework.
Yeah, did that homework. No, that was good. Hold on, so what was the question? I just got so stoked you mentioned Last Ride. I totally just lost my train of thought.
How, like, do your friends know you can sing? Like, how does that even happen? Like, how do you end up saying, like, all right, I'm going to front this band, as opposed to, like, picking up the drums and shit?
Yeah. So that's a good question too. So basically, do you know? I don't know if everybody here does, but Danny Poulin, who was an original member, founding member of Last Ride, aka Lost for Words eventually, and then he joined Lions and worked for Johnny Cupcakes, worked for SJC, kind of a dude that's been part of, the community of Boston. We actually, funny enough, we kind of had beef over some girl when we were younger, and like we're gonna fight each other, and that became us being friends because like we had mutual friends that were kind of like the OGs in our neighborhood, and kind of like, nah, you guys are going to be friends. You're not going to fight each other. Fuck that. So we kind of became friends, and we had a class together in high school when he was a freshman. And I was like, yeah, man, I was like, you're singing. He's like, well, let's start a band. Come over to my house after school and let's jam. And we did. And we just kept fucking doing it. And yeah, that was that. So I just kind of was like, yeah, I can kind of sing, bro. And he's like, all right, let me fucking see what you got. And we started the band.
That's awesome. I feel like those stories you were telling earlier about being a kid, like those were your training wheels. Like you were kind of setting yourself up for that at some point. You were manifesting it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, I like it was just so good to just see. Like the thing about punk that I really loved was I felt like part of something. I felt like I belonged because I always like didn't really fit in. Like, I loved hip hop and stuff, but like, I never really found a community because in my school was a bunch of fucking, people that like country and fucking, alternative music. I don't know. I just didn't really find it. But once I found punk, I really found friends in my own, in my own neighborhood. And, then I just, started going to Boston and shit. And I was like, started meeting all the homies, the South Shore hardcore kids, like Con of Arabia, Death for Dishonor, all these bands that like some of these dudes are just my friends. Like I don't even know them from fucking being in hardcore bands. Like they were just my dudes, and they kind of helped me shape my career. And like when they saw me going to shows, like, dude, what the fuck are you doing here? You know what I mean? And then
Absolutely.
Then they just took me in under their wing. You know what I mean? And signing to Rock Vegas Records and being on an all predominantly hardcore label. We were treated like one.
Yeah. So it sounds like the sound was organic. It wasn't just you put together and tried a bunch of different things. You kind of found where you felt like you belonged, and it kind of went from there.
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is like we were really fucking like, Last Ride was like super emo, an emo band. Like I even wore those fucking fake glasses with like someone to look like River Cuomo. You know what I mean? Like I was on an identity crisis, fucking baggy jeans, these large shirts. If someone could have slapped the shit out of me, I wish they did back then, because I had no fucking clue what was going on. Like I had my little Tom fucking DeLong crooked Hurley hat with a little lip ring that looked like I got caught by a fish at the local fishing pond. So I was going through my identity crisis as far as like, what I like musically, just being kids, man, figuring it out. But yeah, man, I just like once I found punk, man, it just changed my life,
Yeah, because like that was when the early days of Last Ride, that was like the heyday of like, well, maybe not only the heyday, like, but that was right when like Drive Through Records was breaking through, and early days of Victory.
Yep.
Once Victory started getting into like the Thursdays and things like that. So like 2001, 2002 time frame.
Yep. That base. So we started the band in 2000. And like we actually did meet up with Richard. Was it Richard Rain? I don't remember his last name, but Richard from Drive Through. We actually went down there and showcased, and that was an interesting experience.
So I'm trying to think, Matty. So obviously saw you guys in 03, 04, but I remember like a huge like holy shit moment for me with you guys was I log into purevolume.com, main front page, A Loss for Words,
Bro.
Bullets Leave Holes. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Bro, huge deal for us, homie. Man, you are good with your facts, bro.
Absolutely.
That was a big fucking deal for us, man, because that Vanna had just got their record deal from Pure Volume 2,
Oh, yeah.
So that, like, so those dudes are from Boston, and I didn't know, and I don't really, I lost touch with them, because I remember we went to the Pure Volume headquarters back in the day, and we were like, this is sick, man. I got a fucking Pure Volume shirt, and was ripping, like, vodka, Red Bulls, when that was, like, just becoming the thing. I was, like, 21 years old, 22 years old in Alston, just like, fucking, we made it, man. We're at Pure Volume headquarters, like, doing big things. Yeah, no, that's funny you said that, though. That was such a special feeling, because, like, I remember, like, getting, like, the email, like, that we got it, and it was like, yeah, you would have thought that we just signed a fucking $1.6 million, record deal with Sony Records, but we just were on the front page of Pure Volume for a week.
But I mean, that's got to feel awesome, right? It's your first time kind of making a little bit of noise and having people take notice of you guys. That's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was awesome. I mean, even for our friends and just like people that, just for like, it was just an achievement, because so many of our favorite bands were on there, and so many other bands got like deals or whatever from that. Yeah, so our friends, like, that's kind of around the time frame when like people really started being like, it like felt like different. Like it felt like people were like we started making fans from other towns and like, you know, obviously like, you know, people from other states in the New England area. And we're kind of like, this is weird. Like people like us now, I think. This is like, you know, it was around that Bull Sleeve Holes era, actually.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I mean, that's kind of a stepping stone. That's when you know, like, you've kind of hit some kind of milestone to move to the next phase, right? So, and at that time, you're playing all sorts of mixed bills too, right? So you're exposed to just all sorts of different kinds of fans.
Yeah, honestly, that's I think that's a big part. And me and my buddy Jeff, who's sitting next to me right now. Say hi, Jeff.
How y'all doing?
Hey, Jeff.
That's my buddy who's helped me drive across country. But yeah, I mean, basically what you just said right there, playing shows mixed genres. Me and Jeff were talking about that earlier. I think that kind of had and obviously, you know, I know you, Anthony, you kind of, you know, been seeing us from the beginning in all different areas, but like hardcore kind of made us who we are. And like, it like we thought it was normal for a band like us to be playing hardcore shows. And it was to a certain extent. You had bands like Saves the Day, Newfound Glory, and Fast Break, some of those bands that were affiliated with the hardcore scene. But like, we were like really deep in like the Boston hardcore scene. And like, it was so normal to me and so natural that I didn't really realize that it was kind of cool until we started touring and people were like, yo, man, like you guys like those like really like tough pop punk kids who like play hardcore shows. And we're like, what do you mean? Right. And they're like, yeah, man, you guys play those like scary shows when people like beat the shit out of each other. And we're like, yeah, but like you don't play those shows either. Like, what do you mean? Like, I thought everyone plays those kind of shows. You know what I mean? Like,
that's an awesome
we're
point.
Like, we're at like shows and dudes are getting hit with fucking like chains and baseball bats, and we're like, you know, it just. I'm not saying it was, you know, cool or this, that, and the other thing, but it was just normal to us. You know what I mean? That was what we knew.
No, you're right. It's very regional specific because, you know, I'm out here in California now too. Like you said, you're moving out from LA, and it's like that kind of scene doesn't exist here. You know, that's not normal here. Here it's all chill, you know, whatever. There's obviously the punk scene, but it's definitely not a hardcore punk scene or like any kind of bills where people are getting beat up. Yeah,
no, definitely. I mean, obviously now I think that it's way more accepted now to tour. Like you have bands like the Story So Far touring with like Rotting Out or whatever. But like, I think that, I mean, I don't want to take credit, but I think we carried the torch from like a band like Saves the Day in the Movie Life into, you know, your Title Fights and your Story So Far's, you know, playing with hardcore bands. I think we helped keep that socially acceptable. Like, I mean, I don't mean that someone might have something else to say, but I don't think that someone can fucking disagree with that because, you know, we were playing some of the most violent shows, festivals, and, you know, no one else was doing that. And I think that, you know, we just kept that torch alive. We weren't the first to do it at all, by all means, but, you know, we played shows in Cincinnati with Tyrant, Suffocate Faster, and Rhinoceros, you know, all these violent straight edge bands. And, you know, I'm fucking drunk off my ass playing in between them. And they totally accepted me for who I was. And like, a lot of bands could go step in that. And we played on a fucking wrestling ring, and not many motherfuckers could step on that ring.
So, Matty, it's funny you say that because, like, in that Northeast Boston area scene, there's no band that could jump from a Junction 18 frontrunner cadence show to a show with Vanna the next night. Matty, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Someone just tried to call. Actually, Joe Hardcore just tried to call me.
Oh.
Bring him into the combo.
Straight edge dudes.
Yeah.
Joe Hardcore just called me for the record. Actually, and the reason he called me, you know, and sorry, obviously this podcast is a little different because I'm driving. But yeah, actually, I just listened to his podcast.
Yeah.
This is Hardcore Fest, which is really cool. I listened to the episode with him and Tim Bora, who owns Sound Talent Group, and I listened for 3 hours, and it was fucking incredible. So speaking of a straight edge OG, Joe Hardcore is also a dude that put me on This Is Hardcore and did a lot of things for my band too. So that actually will kind of I felt like the world just helped us right there.
No, man, he's got a good thing going. I've listened to a few episodes with Chris Wren he had on there, and he had a few others. But that's actually a perfect segue because what I was saying is there's no band from that Boston Northeast scene that could go from playing a show with Junction 18, the Frontrunner, Cadence, and that crew, to the next night playing with Vanna, to the next night playing with COA, Colin of Arabia, and Guns Up. And I think it helped you guys, right? Like, some people might see that as like, you don't know your identity, but I think that totally helped you guys.
Well, I think both things what you just said are absolutely correct. I didn't know my identity. All we knew is that we didn't fucking care if you were cool, we're playing with you. Totally. I don't care if you're a ska band, a metal band, new metal band, whatever. Like, if you were cool people, like, we're playing. And I wasn't afraid to ever play in front of somebody. If someone wants to heckle me, like, we can talk about that after the show. which honestly never really happened, except for going on tour with Streetlit Manifesto. some of those like snobby, like, kind of like instrument, snobs were kind of like, these guys don't have horns, fuck them. But like, I mean, to be honest, other than that, to be real, we didn't really get heckled or made fun of anywhere. Obviously, sometimes, people don't like bands or whatever, but no one really ever fucking heckled me or nothing like that. But like, yeah, I think that was kind of a big part of our band, was like, just like you said, like we could go play, with like, the Front Runner, which was a great shout out, by the way, Front Runner and the Cadence and all them, like, which were very good friends of ours, play with Vanna the next night and then play with Death Before Dishonor and Call of Arabia. And that's okay. And people accepted us in each fucking scene. And I thought that was very cool and very special.
So you guys are playing these shows, you're kind of finding yourself, you're putting things together. When do you realize you want to start, recording and putting out music and seeing how that goes?
I mean, we started recording from a very early stage because Danny Poulin was in a hardcore band called Every Last Day, from the South Shore. Like, and they, they never got big or toured or anything, but, they were doing the thing already. They were like, Danny was in a band when he was 11 years old, 12 years old, playing with like 18-year-old kids in high school. And like some awesome, was kind of like Year of Our Lord or In Flames or some kind of like, almost like metal hardcore. And he had recorded at a place called Guilty Dog Studios where Junction 18 recorded their record. So he already had the experience of like knowing like, hey guys, we're going to all put our money together. Every time we come to practice, everybody puts in $5. And once we get the money, we're going to, it was like $20 an hour at the time or $25 an hour, whatever it was. And then we're going to book time. We tracked on 8-at tapes, It was like an 8-track or something like that. So we had like 8 tracks that we could just, I don't know, it was fucking crazy, bro. Like how different it was back then. Yeah, man. And we just went in, recorded our first record, which was called The Tales of Broken Hearts and Goodbyes. We printed, Danny had a colored printer, which was pretty like cool then. And we printed, we all went to his house and his girlfriend had helped us make the CD covers, and we burned the demos and we sold them at school. And once we sold enough records, which we did, because we all played like sports or were in the punk bands, or was in the punk community or skateboarders. We all had different like little cliques we hung with, and they all supported us really, to be honest, even though we sucked. And we funded the next recording, and then that recording funded the next recording.
That's awesome. And that all kind of compounds until around 2005, you drop your first EP.
Yeah. The first EP was on the one you're talking about, the one on Rock Vegas Records on with the Lost Words.
Yeah, these past 5 years. Yep.
Yeah, these past 5 years. Yeah, man, that was when I feel like we quote unquote became a real band. Like, nice. It felt different. We were on a hardcore label that like had acts that were touring everywhere. And what happened was a COA and another dude, Chris Mission, who was like a pretty big deal in the hardcore scene at the time, and they started giving us contacts and helping us book shows in other cities, and we started DIY touring. Call of Arabia took us on one of our first tours. It was Call of Arabia, Crime and Stereo, and Ambitions, which was members of With Honor. And so basically, we started touring with hardcore bands. That's how we toured with that band, The Homefront, back in the day, which was members of Guns Up and Ghost Inside. Yeah, man, that's how we learned how to fucking do it, man. Colin taught me the ropes. He taught me like, you make, and obviously the way of, hardcore touring and DIY touring into, touring professionally is different. He'd be like, hey man, we made $500 tonight. I'm going to give you guys 200 and we're taking 300. You know what I mean? And like, and but he took care of us, bro. He really did. He took care of us and like taught us like, you fucking share with your people. You don't, you help each other. You don't, I don't know. It makes sense if you know Colin. It makes sense. And I owe a lot to him as far as becoming a man and being in this music industry. Yeah, he was just a great guy.
A great front man. Great front man.
Yeah, great front man.
One of a kind.
Henry Rollins 2.0, baby.
Yeah, I just remember seeing him with giant chains around his neck, and
and yeah, those were the chains I was talking about. Not allegedly he had chains around his neck.
Allegedly,
I don't know about that, but allegedly, and there's some great pictures of that. So yeah, no, it's fucking funny. Like, Return to the Pit. Shout out to Return to the Pit, because sometimes you just see some of the best fucking pictures come up on there. Pictures of me in the crowd wearing like fucking Youth Large Death Before Dishonor shirts and like weird shit, fucking Madball shirts that I wish I still had and wouldn't even be able to fit on one arm if I did have them.
We talk about that stuff all the time because like those kind of shows or like those moments and like going back and seeing those photos like retrospect, like that was like pre-iPhone, that was like pre-YouTube, like, or at least YouTube was like just getting started. Like, it's just not, we talk about it on here all the time. Like, those times cannot be repeated. That was like a time and place. It's very reminiscent.
They cannot be repeated. And
Yeah.
I talk about this stuff all the time. Obviously, it's good time to reminisce those old times. I mean, it was so fucking dangerous to be at Brockton at Romans, which my family owns the bar right next to Romans, the Shoe City Tavern.
The
And
Mallard?
they still do, by the way. My family still owns that bar, and it's in the hood, the Lithuanian Village. And, bro, like, like you said, there's pre-pictures on cell phones. So, like, they only let, like, Return to the Pit, Future Breed, Rev, like, a few people take pictures there, man. And, like, there was a lot of crazy fucked up shit that happened, that once it happened, those camera guys knew to put their phone down and let it be, because if they didn't, they'd have to answer to somebody else, you know?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of crazy shit going on, people getting thrown through the fucking firewall, when that fire alarm would go off. I'm sure if you guys went there, remember that. Like, you knew, like, someone just got fucking tossed right out the fucking door. Fucking someone got thrown down a flight of, like, just, it was crazy shit happening. It was a war inside those doors. And I miss those days so much. They're the best days of my life. I wouldn't trade those days for the world, you know?
So, Matty, I went to school in Northeastern, which is half of our campus is in Brockton. And
Yep.
That was like such a breath of fresh air when originally Romans started putting on shows. But yeah, if I look at some of those Return to the Pit photos, you can see me pinned to the wall in the back corner. I was like, that's my place. That's where I belong.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing, bro, is like, there was a place for everybody there. You just had to know it. Like,
oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Like, some people just, I mean, I had multiple, because obviously I was I'm half bro. You know what I mean? I don't really have any true identity, but I had a lot of bro friends come through and shit, and like, different homies in my hardcore scene, were fucking beating the shit out of them because they wanted to push pit. And then my friends are telling them, like, bro, chill the fuck out. And then they wouldn't. And then one homie said another homie. And I'm like, stop, come on. You know what I mean? But, like, at some point, you kind of got to let it go, too, because you're like, he told you to stop pushing him.
Right.
And you continue to push him. He then punched you in the face. Sorry, homie. Like, you're my boy. But, like, he's my boy, too. And you're not understanding where you're at right now.
I can confirm that Twan is Anthony's picture in the back corner, because he sent us a couple on occasion on Instagram. He's like, hey, you see this guy's arm? I'm behind him. I'm like, there he is. But I've also seen some ones where he's up front and he's got his face on. He's having his time. So I know he's done both.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about, Brockton, obviously there's different kinds of shows. See, and that's the thing is, like, I don't know, obviously I know Anthony, bunch of hardcore shows and pop punk shows and whatever, but I don't know about everybody here. But, like, you got to know where you're at, because even within the hardcore scene, you have, we were listening to Half Heart earlier. We were listening to fucking, just multiple bands. But if you're at a Death for Dishonor show, if you don't want to get hurt or whatever, stand in the back, and probably won't, but there's still a chance. And if you're at a Have Heart show, yeah, it's going to be okay to go up front and sing along. Like, that's the vibe. Sometimes people just couldn't catch the vibe. A Have Heart show is different than a Death Threat and 100 Demon show. That's just what it is. You gotta know where you're at. Have Heart and Guns Up. People are gonna want to jump on each other and sing along, and it's different. But any real hardcore kid knows, like, what the rules are. There's unwritten rules.
Man, that's awesome. So after 4 years of grinding those shows and whatnot, 2009, you drop your first album, The Kids Can't Lose.
Yeah, The Kids Can't Lose, I think, came out in 2008, 2009 for sure. Yeah, that was a big deal for us, because we had done our 2 records on Rock Vegas Records. One of them, being Kristen Danbury herself was our lead model on that one. And then we jumped into the Kids Can't Lose, which was our first full length. We just felt we were at the point of time where people wanted to hear more than 5 songs from us. And yeah, man, we did a DIY, and we ended up selling, like, I think we sold like 10,000 plus copies. And then we signed a record deal in Japan with our friend Mizuki. He was working for a company, I think what was the old label was called. Goddamn, In and Out Records.
Oh yeah, nice.
And like the Movie Life and 4 Year Strong and a bunch of bands were on that label. And we had we had toured Japan and had a record deal in Japan before we did America. And actually, now that I think of it, that's kind of fucking cool.
That's awesome. I mean, that just shows that momentum was starting to build. Like, your first tour out of the country was in Japan. So the tours go from those small club shows you were referencing to going international to Japan, which is notorious for their fandom of just anything rock music.
Yeah, man. I mean, so the Kids Can't Lose record is always going to be such a nostalgic, such an accomplishment, so many memories. We did a tour with, actually, this is a funny story. That record wasn't going to come out in time, so we actually released an acoustic EP called Webster Lake because we got a tour with 4 Years Strong, This Is Hell, and I'm the Avalanche, and we were promoting an acoustic record because the people recording the record couldn't get it done in time. Like, we had it all planned out. 4 Year had told us, yo, we're proud of you guys. You guys have always been good friends of ours. We're going to take you guys on tour, get a record out. And we literally recorded a record, paid like $15,000 to do this record, and it just didn't work out the way we wanted to. And it was such a break, you know, like a heartbreaking experience. But, you know, we recorded with our friend Chris Current, one of the best dudes ever, an acoustic record, and dropped it and just tried to keep the momentum going. And it's such a crazy thing. Like, we always found a way to do something, even though it didn't make sense. But yeah, more of the story is, man, that Kids Can't Lose generation was when things really started picking up. We did our record release at the ICC church in the basement because they double booked our show, and we're like, we can't fucking not have our show. And literally 750 people showed up and paid. And I think we broke fire code by like 4 times the amount of people. It was fucking raining. It was fucking raining in the basement. My stepfather came in, watched 2 songs, and just shook his head at me and left. Like, in a funny way, like, hey kid, I love you, but this isn't fucking flying kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
well, the basement was tiny. The basement was tiny there.
Yeah, I mean, we sold so much merch. We had so much fun. We had 4 Years Strong as our special guest. Like, it was fucking wild, bro. I mean, that whole CD. We got to do so many different things, man, on that record, and we did it all ourselves, man. We did DIY, like, straight up, no record label.
So, Matty, I know, like, up to that point, kind of following you guys for probably 6 years or 7 years, whatever it was, I could tell the momentum shift as a fan because, like, I'm assuming at that point you're probably getting write-ups on, like, Absolute Punk, and, like, nationally you're starting to get some buzz. Could you guys in the band feel that? Like, could you feel it getting real?
No, absolutely, man. I mean, like, what kind of happened is, and you know, like, we started touring a bit, and just, like, our friends would be excited. Like, that's when, like, we started writing some, you know, I don't think we were ever the best songwriters, but I think we had some cool songs. You know, I think we had some fun songs that our friends really liked. But I think once we started touring, once we started getting out there, we were starting to play with bigger bands, and our friends were getting excited. When our friends got excited, they came to more shows, and those kids coming to more shows made it so other kids wanted to come to, you know what I mean? People that would see us that are friends with the other bands or whatever started getting behind us, and touring, you know, making more friends, and then their friends coming to our shows. Like, we just started seeing the growth. It just felt different. Like, we felt like, and it wasn't like it made us, like, we didn't act any different, but we were like, holy shit, like, yeah, like, we're touring, and, like, people are coming, and, like, you know, even though we're only doing $300 to $500 in merch, like, we're paying for our tours with, like, people are showing up. It's cool.
Yeah. At that point, are you guys full-time band, or are you still doing your kind of day jobs and hoping that this thing goes?
We work day jobs our whole, like, we found in between our jobs our whole career. I mean, there was never a point where we never made a dime. Our money came right in and then went right back out into the business, or on fucking buying bottles of alcohol and beer to get to the, you know,
to the next stop.
Yeah, we didn't, you know, like, we didn't really ever make any money and put it in our pockets. It was always just going to buying flights to the UK, flights to Japan. And then, you know, those tours would break even. We do another US tour, make like $5,000, put it in the bank. You know what I'm saying? Like, we always just funded ourselves to keep going. Pretty
cool way to see the world, though, right?
Dude, 100%, man. Like, I always say to everybody, we were successful, and some people think success is money, and it's not necessarily money. It was like we got to experience so much culture and make so many friends, you know, which kind of tied into me, you know, expanding the second chapter of you know, of my life, and get into management and, you know, doing other things. You know what I'm saying? That really kind of paved the way, is making all those relationships organically.
That's awesome, man. I mean, we all dreamt about, like, traveling the world when we were in high school and stuff. So the fact that you actually did, and we're all the same age group, so you actually did, and then, you know, paid your way, even if it was like a break even. Like, we get pretty technical on the business savvy stuff. So, like, it was a break even analysis, but damn, dude, you're traveling the world. It's rad. And
yeah. So that, yeah, we go ahead.
I was going to say, all that kind of compounds to the fact that, you know, come 2011, then you actually do get a record label deal in 2011.
Yeah, man. I mean, so basically, well, there was 2 things. I think the Motown cover record, which we just dropped again on Pure Noise Records.
Nice.
I can't really give all the details on the first label, but they kind of dropped the ball on us. But I don't want to really get into that too much, just because I don't want to, like, cause any beef or nothing like that. But it was kind of a fucked up situation. But basically, we released the record again on Pure Noise Records, actually a little bit ago, and we're stoked on that. But that record came out, and we even did a record release show that sold out with the Wonder Years and state champs, and we had no records to sell. Anyways, that might have been kind of the problem of why, if you can kind of catch my drift and why things weren't going so well. When you sell at a show and do your part and the other person doesn't fucking show up or whatever. I don't want to, really fucking dwell on that too much, but obviously you can hear my voice. I'm still a little fucking bitter about it. Anyways, moving on to, the next record. We got a record deal, with Dave Shapiro, who was our booking agent, who worked at the agency group at the time, and he owned Velocity Records, which was a subsidy of Rise Records, and we dropped our record, No Sanctuary, on Warped Tour 2012.
Sweet.
It came out a little before that, but that's kind of when it really happened. To be honest, actually, I don't know if anybody really remember this, but we were supposed to go on tour with Dance Gavin Dance, with Johnny Craig was in the band, and Johnny had relapsed and the tour got canceled. So our record release tour actually got canceled.
Oh shit.
And that was a really tough thing. So if you're not hearing what I'm saying is our CDs didn't come in, our records didn't come in for the actual record release, and then our record release tour got canceled, when it happened. So it just was never easy for us.
So Matty, I'm curious, like you see in like all these movies and shit, like when bands get signed to labels, they get flown out for the label showcase and things like that. So how was it for you guys to get with Rise? Like, was it just natural? Like they knew you from the scene and whatnot? Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like, what's funny though? That's what fucking kids from my high school and shit. Like, yo, man, you fucking must be fucking loaded now, dude. Fucking got a record deal, homie. You know what I mean? Like, you fucking made it, bro. And like, it was cool. So, like, we were so stoked, and fucking Rise and Velocity, did as much as you can for a band like us on our level. And I'm fucking forever grateful to Sean Haydorn, Craig Erickson, Dave Shapiro. I mean, just fucking great people. But yeah, man, we met actually at there was a venue called Cobalt Cafe in California, and a bunch of my homies, actually Luis from Alpha Omega was security there. A few other homies were working there, but we played a show there, and it was actually really crazy. Our bassist Mikey, it's a crazy story. I won't get too much into it, but basically his father had passed away when we were on tour and had to cancel some dates with Transit and Kid Liberty. And then we ended up playing out at the Cobalt Cafe with the Sheds. It might have been the Story so far. I don't know if we might have had them on that little leg. We brought them on a little leg. I don't remember if they were on that show. But anyways, we played, and Timmy from Transit actually was filling in for us when Dave Shapiro came to see us, liked us, and signed us that night.
Damn.
So Tim, RIP Tim Landers, Timmy from Transit, such a big part of our band. Transit was such a big part of our band. But actually, I wrote to his parents on the little book of like memories at the wake, and I said, just to let you know, your son got us the record deal, not Mikey. just it's a little fact that I bust Mikey's balls all the time about it. I was like, yo, if it wasn't for Timmy, bro, we wouldn't have got that deal, homie. Like, you know what I mean? Because, Mikey had to deal with his family shit, and obviously, Mikey's my brother. Actually, I'm moving back in with him when I get home. So long story short is, we got a record deal that night, and, it's really hard. I mean, we got, a nice record deal for what it is. We drove down to Florida, recorded our record with Andrew Wade, but I mean, there was no fucking champagne bottles. There might have been a bottle of whiskey that we bought ourselves. There might have been a few blunts, a few cigarettes. But there was definitely no, there was no fucking strippers and fucking champagne bottles flying, as much as Matty would have liked that. And I've had nights like that, I've had nights like that in the past 10 years since then, but it wasn't that night.
That's funny. I feel like those stories only exist in like early 90s, 80s, 70s, like anything our age, like we're all the same age, like that stuff doesn't really exist.
I wanted to, we grew up seeing those. We grew up seeing those VH1 behind the scenes and shit, man.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I want to fucking live like that, homie. Like, what do you think I'm in a band for?
100%. Even as a fan, like I've been backstage.
Drug, sex, and rock and roll, bro. That's what I'm in it.
Exactly.
That's the record deal.
Yeah. I've been to those parties and stuff, and it's like everyone's just chilling, quiet. It's very PC. It's like, oh, damn. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's definitely not what they think it is.
But I'm kind of going back to that kind of framework of the album signing. So clearly it was a three record deal, right? With Rise. It
was one record with two options. Yep.
And so we noticed, like, your influences influences are shining through on these records. So like your harmony, your melody, the things you were kind of alluding to earlier, like your upbringing and like that sound was starting to really come through on this. That was obviously like progression, and you finally had a label that was able to support that.
I mean, it was really cool to have that backing. Yeah, honestly. So when this podcast comes to an end because of my phone dying, so make sure you put this on the podcast. I know you guys didn't edit it, whatever. I am so punk rock that I wasn't gonna not do this interview with my friends. I'm driving across country, allegedly illegally holding this phone in my hand, and this phone will die and the podcast will end. And that is me as a person. That's how I live my life.
I love it.
I want you all to know that I wasn't going to miss this podcast. I'm having so much fun, and we'll continue until my phone fucking dies. And I guarantee you don't have another podcast that has a dude that has these kind of stories and has his phone fucking die as he's driving across country to move home.
We don't.
Dude.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and you sang for us, so I mean, we've hit the trifecta right there, man.
So Matty, so one thing I've actually always kind of wondered this. So I remember a few years ago, I'm watching NFL primetime football, and I hear fade out music to commercial, A Loss for Words, and I'm like, wait, what? Did I hear that right? How did that happen?
Bro, you know what? I gotta take you out for a beer when I get up to Portland next time, because you're just fucking you have a good memory. But to be real, man, I don't see it's hard because I don't really think about things that like all the time. But wow, that was fucking cool, right? I mean, like, because I remember in the playoffs it had happened a couple times.
Yeah.
But I remember watching with my two best friends, the Wall brothers. My buddy Pat Wall had just had his fourth kid, and we were there with their dad, who's like a fucking dad to me. His wife, a couple of her friends, myself, and the kids. And all of a sudden, my homie goes, bro, you're on the fucking, they're playing your song. And I'm like, wait, what? And I run into the living room because it was like, you know, whatever. And I heard it. I was like, what the fuck was that? And I swear my phone was blowing up too. And surprisingly, from friends that have obviously been paying attention to us that I didn't even know, like friends like from high school I haven't talked to and shit. And they're like, dude, was that your song on the NFL Super Bowl? And I was like, yes. And that was such an incredible feeling. And we got paid nothing.
Of course.
I actually no. We might have got paid 0.0000001 cents, something like that. But yeah, I mean that was but just to have our music on there was such a huge accomplishment, and I was so thankful to the label and to everything they had going on. Obviously, that was something on their doing, and I remember thanking Sean Haydorn, and he's like, yeah, you in Transit. I think us in Transit were on it or something like that, or Man Overboard or something. But I just said thank you so much, man. And he's like, no, of course, and. Yeah, they always showed us love, man, and little things like that. I don't know if it was their doing or I don't know how it happened, but it fucking happened. So whoever did it, somehow, small chance you're listening to me talk and ramble on as I drive home. Thank you for helping me live one of the biggest accomplishments of my life.
I mean, whoever was in charge of production that night was a fan, right? And local probably. So, hey, awesome. And if they're listening, Thank you for listening to us too.
So, Matty, that was a few years ago. And then if we continue the timeline, so after 15, 16 years of being a band, in 2015 you guys have your last show at the Palladium. I went, I think it was sold out, killer show, great openers.
Every single day I wanna hear you say I have no words staying on my mind, but I'm feeling down, getting down with my lungs, hanging on to the inside of your face. Yourself, come on. Oh, I really wanted this life to burn.
long time coming, or was it just like you knew it was time? I've always been kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so I mean, so here's the deal: is like we are all still best friends. We are all still cool. There was never any quarrels. I mean, we had our quarrels all the time. We're brothers. We used to fight the shit out of each other all the time. But like, as far as like, you know, we're family and families fight. But there was never any problems or a time that was like, you know what, fuck, we're not doing this anymore. Never happened. Those conversations never happened.
Yeah.
What had happened was, I'm on 10%, guys, just with a heads up. Okay. But what happened is Marky came to my house and we signed up for Slam Dunk Festival, whatever. And we had the most difficult conversation I ever had as far as that band goes. And it was very like emotional. My parents were out of the house or whatever. And I was like, you know, and he's like, hey man, I got an offer to do this new job and it's what I got to do. And I don't think I could tour full time anymore. Obviously I'll do whatever you guys want to do, write music or play shows that I can, but I can't tour anymore. And I was like, all right, cool. Well, like, you know, you can do Slam. We'll do like a whole world tour together and then we'll call it a day. And he's like, I can't, like, I can't tour anymore. Like, and I was like, all right, well, I can't do this without you. Like you, me and Mikey are the band. Without one of us, it's not a loss for words anymore. Like we gotta call it. And he's like, well, when do you want to tell the guys? I was like, I'll tell them in Europe. I'll tell them in Europe because Mikey and Christian, our drummer at the time, you know, had just really had no, because I was managing Paris and stuff at the time.
Oh, right on. Yep.
So I had some things kind of going on my own too that I could have shifted focus on, you know, and so I knew that I was going to be doing stuff, but like I was so bummed to tell them. And honestly, I've never really talked about this before. It's kind of cool to talk about, but yeah, I mean, it was a very sad moment for all of us. But you know, we're like, fuck it, we're going to do a full world tour. We're going to have fun. We're going to live out this moment, ride it out, and we're going to, you know, do a last show, and you know, that's what it's going to be. And you know, and the last show thing was obviously a huge accomplishment. You know, sound at the Downstairs Palladium with all of our friends. But the thing was, you know, even though we've done shows since then, we retired as a full-time touring band. So, you know, yeah, we'll probably do a show here and there. Like we just did some shows. Again, the No Sanctuary record's coming up on an anniversary. Like, you know, we might do an acoustic thing for the holidays to raise money for homeless kids to get toys.
Nice.
We did that same thing last year in California for the children with Nate from Zabalba and his thing. But yeah, so we'll do some shows, but that was our last show, retired as a full-time touring band. And, you know, I couldn't have been happier. You know, had Lynn and singing guest vocals, Joe B from Transit sing guest vocals. We had all the different members coming up and playing with us. We had sold out the Downstairs Palladium, which was always a lifelong dream. That was more important to me than the Super Bowl commercial. All that stuff. Like we really fucking did it.
So you jumped into artist management. You just talked about it a little bit, managing other bands. That's kind of what you're doing now, right? I mean, obviously this year has been tough as far as that goes, but talk a little bit about what you're doing there.
Yeah, man. Obviously I got my career started. I did 7 years with a band called Paris. I, you know, helped them from the beginning to the point that we had parted ways on good terms. I'm starting a podcast and interviewed Lynn, who's a sister to me, yesterday. Obviously the podcast thing, I'll have more details on that for people that are interested. It's going to be really cool thing that I'm stoked on. But yeah, so I mean, I managed a band called Set It Off. Those guys are some of my favorite people. They really stood by my side when I had some ups and downs, and their band is just fucking crushing it. Even during the quarantine, their following is going up. It's just been beautiful. I have, you know, baby artists that I'm working on, R&B, hip hop, rock, you know, everything you can imagine. And really having a good time with it. This year is really tough, but we're going to get through it. Positivity gets through everything. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. Just, you know, moving home right now, I'll always find a way to make ends meet and get by until the lights come back on. But yeah, man, Reclaim Music Group, that's my thing. Check it out. Follow my artists. If you support me, please support them. It would mean a lot to me. It doesn't hurt to click on a follow button. And yeah, man, you know, I got Idle Hand Collective, my traveling barbershop with Alex from the Gaslight Anthem, and my real good friend used to tour with us doing merch, Eric Zaitz, who owns Bostonian Barbershop. He has one in Boston, one on the South Shore. You know, we cut it backstage at music festivals. Obviously, that's on timeout as well because of COVID. And that's kind of, you know, I got a couple things that I'm going to be working on when I get home, such as the podcast. Mikey and myself are starting a kimchi company, making kimchi and pickled vegetables.
Nice.
So be on the look for that. And then I was starting to sell and trade Disney pins, but Disney closed down. That operation got shut down. So it's been a really fucking tough year. But I'm still laughing and smiling and you know, picking on myself, you know?
That's awesome, Matty. Clearly you still have the intense New England work ethic that's relentless. I mean, you got multiple projects going on, but that's cool. You're going back east. Is there anything in store for A Loss for Words? I mean, you're going to be back and then your old neck of the woods. You're going to be doing gigs or anything like that, you think? I mean, obviously COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID, obviously it's tough right now. But basically, like I just mentioned, my boys, I mean, I'll let the cat out of the bag, so I'm going to be announcing it pretty much daily now. But I haven't even asked the guys yet. So Marky and Mikey, when you listen to this, we're going to be doing an acoustic show.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Frankie.
Hell yeah.
Frankie and Shauna Popolo. Frankie from Death Without Honor is doing, him and his wife are doing charity to raise money for kids. Shauna has been doing this for a while, and sadly, because of COVID, we can't do it anymore. So they had called me. They're very good friends of mine. Actually, anytime I'm home, I usually stay at their house. They're two of my best friends. They asked if I wanted to contribute, so I'm going to have the boys get together, and it'll be for donations. So I'd appreciate if the three of you guys even tuned in and donated a little bit of money to help make a kid's Christmas better. But I'll be announcing that probably pretty soon. We'll probably just do something on, Facebook Live or whatever, and just fucking take donations or whatever. And, Sean and Frank, you're going to go and buy toys and donate to some local churches or whatever program they affiliate themselves with. So we'll do something acoustic. Haven't done something since last year when we did For the Children, which is the same event in California. But we definitely, we'll do some things here and there. We're not gonna beat the dead horse, but we love playing. We love seeing each other. We love seeing our old fans and friends at these shows. And man, there'll be something for sure.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
So Matty, we know you're running out of juice here. We if we got maybe 2 or 3 minutes, we do a quick lightning round of just like quick one-hitter questions. I'll start us off. So Matty, I dug deep into the Internet Archive Wayback Machine to your old MySpace page. Do you remember what you guys put as your influences on the MySpace page?
The June Spirit, Junction 18, The Movie Life, Newfound Glory Saves the Day.
I think that's the actual answer.
Acceptance?
That's probably the answer. Yeah,
that's probably the factual answer. But what you guys put was, quote, cheap 40s and Scott Stapp.
Oh, my God. So that was Mikey. Mikey had hacked the MySpace. Yo.
That's great. That's
great.
Oh,
my God.
Yeah, cheap 40s and Scott Stapp. So I figured you'd love that.
That's what we do.
I love Mikey. Mikey, fuck you.
Oh, man.
I need more of these. Come on, let's go. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We got you.
Yeah, let's get some more of these questions. I like these.
Yeah, man. So you were talking about earlier. We were talking earlier about you going back east, and for some reason the Axis was, shining in my head. That I love that venue on Lansdowne Street. So I got to ask, what is the hottest venue of all time? The ICC Church or Tiger's Den Romans? Which one is more of a sweltering, oven for a venue? Yeah.
Oh my God. But the ICC Church, which if you watch, stamp of approval, no offense, Keith Fiasco, I love you, but maybe one of our worst recorded videos, you can see us just sweating.
Oh, dude.
And I'm so glad Keith got to capture that. But it's funny because there's pictures of someone wearing a hat and the hat comes off and goes back on. But Keith Fiasco, thank you, because you fucking captured such a special day in our lives. But it's just the craziest video ever, and there's just so much madness, but you can see the sweat. He did a great job capturing the fucking the emotion and the feeling, and I truly was. And that was the fucking hottest show I played, except for a show in Texas where I stripped down to my boxers and then kissed this dude that I didn't like's girlfriend on the cheek in some buttfuck area in Texas, because the kid was in a local band and he was being an asshole to his girlfriend, and she was a friend of mine, so I kissed her on the cheek in my boxers while sweating, and my wang was flapping all over the place. And that's a true story.
I don't think we can top that. Yeah, I don't think we can top that story. I think that's gonna be the mic drop.
Yep. Yeah. Fuck you, bitches. What's good?
Hell yeah, dude. Well, Matty, thank you for coming on, man. This is awesome, and drive safe on your way back east. It's snowing this way, man.
Awesome. Yo, I want to come up to Portland and get some drinks with you guys when COVID's over. I want you guys to fucking find your local fisherman and get me some lobster. I miss my Portland lobsters. But yeah, pleasure to be on this podcast. Really stoked for you guys. You guys get something cool going on. If I can ever try to help you guys in any way, let me know. And thank you guys. I appreciate it.
We'll find you some lobster.
It was awesome. Man, Matty's the man. Coming from New England, we're all obviously homies, coming kind of growing up in the same general area. What do you guys think of that?
That was cool. Him driving cross country, and actually great phone connection for the most part as far as the sound goes. I was pretty excited about that. No, he full energy. The world has kind of changed on a lot of musicians this year, and he was had a positive outlook on things, which was really cool. It's allowed us to talk to people like him and, you know, get some answers from, as Nate said, from our side of the you know, the stanchion is out in the crowd, getting to hear what it's like on the backstage side. So very cool for him to come on and as he's driving back east to be part of the Northeast again, where, you know, things move a little quicker.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. And that conversation really confirmed a lot of the things that I had known about him for a while, which is just like someone who can't sit still, right? So it's, you got the management company, you got the band, you got you know, partnership in the barber pop-up and whatnot. So that was really cool to hear. Like, and when we see that with a lot of our guests, like it's people that have their hands in so much, and it's definitely a theme with a lot of people in the creative space, and he's no exception. And he answered a lot of questions I've been wanting to know for years. So I had a smile on my face the whole time.
Yeah, I agree. I think the part of the interview that really resonates with me is him talking about being a toddler or a child, and, you know, pretending to sing or like singing or sledding across the, you know, kitchen floor on his knees, like Bruce Springsteen style, like stuff like that. It's like you manifest everything that, you know, comes after the fact. So he definitely kind of framed that as, you know, this is what I kind of was obsessed with as a child and became what I ended up doing, you know, long term, which I always think is fascinating. Like, as much as you think it's just a whatever thing, you know, imagine being like a kindergarten teacher and seeing like some kid like obsessed with building blocks into like some kind of structure, like, and that guy becomes an architect. You're like, damn, like I was on it. Like I knew it. He was going to be an architect. And the way he framed his story is like, he didn't even know if it was really his thing, but he knew he really liked it. And bam, like here he is with his band. So it's really cool to hear the backstory on any of this stuff. For us, it's just pure nerdery.
Yeah, Maddie's kindergarten teacher definitely thought that he was a performer. I'm sure of it. Like he just
Totally
was into it. Like had energy, had especially in the realm he ended up in. You know, the music, the genres that he ended up being around. Like there's energy in those rooms. So you could see it. He had it. He still does. And he's still, you know, he's still got his hands in a lot of shit. So check out any of it. We're gonna throw a lot of links in our show notes for you guys to check out, to click on and you know, go and see what he's got going. But yeah, the dude is a busy man, and even in these COVID times is doing a lot of things to try to, you know, keep things rolling musically and be around and be part of the world.
Yeah, and he never forgot his roots. You know what I mean? Like he was, you know, we brought up a few things that, you know, obviously put him back in that moment, and he got excited about it, and it's cool to finally see that Motown record get a proper release, right? So Pure Noise, you know. In this scene, massive label. So I hope that does well. So we'll, you know, we'll promote that too. It's the Motown, I'm not sure the formal name of it, but it's Motown Classics cover album. It's coming out on vinyl on Pure Noise. So I'll definitely be checking that out in the physical form.
Check our Sunday Spins in the near future. It may be there.
Oh, it'll definitely be. Yeah. But no, that was really cool. One thing I didn't get to, so Matty, if you're listening to this, and you probably remember this, but my buddy Chris and I in college booked you to open for the starting line at the Stonehill College Sports Complex, which was, I don't know the capacity, but it was a big event, and it was just you guys and starting line. So it's just cool to bring this full circle. Long time coming, and I'm glad he was able to get on the pod.
That's awesome. Some deep nerdery there with Twan on the grassroots of fandom, but also business aspect of booking the band as well. So that's always cool. But yeah, Matty was great. Super nice guy. And obviously anyone coming from New England, we can totally relate with. And obviously we just alluded to it with the extreme work ethic. I mean, that's in our DNA. It's undeniable. But also just the true fandom to what music is at the core. And, you know, those shows he's talking about that are, you know, non-replicatable. They're of a time and place. And us being able to completely relate as a fan and him as a band member, we all know that, you know, what we saw and what we've been able to experience is one thing to all be, you know, the same age and graduating high school at the same time. It's really fascinating because it's we were all in the same place, but coming from different angles and meeting in the middle, and to do a podcast like this and hear his backstory is always such a reward and makes this just a fascinating thing that we can pull off. So yeah, Matty, really appreciate you coming on, and really stoked to talk to you and talk about these backstories. So really cool.
Yeah. And check our socials soon, because he did mention having a charitable event that he was trying to put together for the holiday season coming up here very shortly right now that we're in. If there's a way you can donate $1 or $5, I know that I'm going to try to do that as soon as he sends us that link. Just so keep our socials, that's going to be there in the very near future. And if you guys are new to us and this is the first time you've checked us out, we're going to continue to bring these stories to you. Like we love to talk to people that were in the backstage, up on the stage from our viewpoint, out in the crowd. We love that shit. That's what we do. It's what we've been conditioned to do for 20 years is check these bands out, be at these shows, and do it together and enjoy it. And now we're trying to do it on this level and see if we can't get a few people to talk to us about it. So we got more stuff in the pipe for you guys coming up, and we will continue to do this because it's fun. We love it.
We love it. So with that, we'll wrap it up. We're going to transition to Hold Your Breath by Lost for Words off the Kids Can't Lose album. Thanks for checking us out, guys. Appreciate it so much.
Peace, podheads.
Cheers, y'all.
Should forget, I'll have the song to remind